Jesus has these challenging words about who we invite to a meal. We're not supposed to invite our friends and family, rather the poor, the crippled, the lame, and the blind. And one person who took this to heart was St. Louis, the King of France. Every day he invited 120 beggars to eat at his table. On feast days and Sundays, he'd invite 200 of them, and very often he would serve them himself, and he would wash their feet in imitation of Jesus, the King of Kings. And towards the end of his life, he wrote a spiritual testament to his son, and he said, "Be kind-hearted to the poor, the unfortunate, and the afflicted, and do whatever you can to help them and to console them." And so he gave a great example of that. It's something that we should take to heart too. First of all, we need to understand that Jesus is not saying that we can't invite our families and our friends. He's using hyperbole to make a point. What he's saying is that when we do invite anyone, including our family and friends, we should do it out of love and not out of selfishness. We shouldn't do it because we know that then they will have to repay us. And so this is what St. Louis did as well. He invited many important people to his table, including St. Thomas Aquinas and many others as well. They lived at the same time. But what Jesus is saying is that there's more goodness and perfection in inviting the poor to our table than anyone else, because they don't have the ability to repay us. And so it is a better act, a more perfect act. It's something that Pope Francis has mentioned before that I really like. He said, if we're going to change the world, we have to do good to those who cannot repay us. And a good example in our own day of this was Mother Teresa. As a little girl growing up in Albania, she learned this lesson from her parents, because in their community, her parents would invite the poor to dine at their table. And then we know what Mother Teresa did and how much good she accomplished and how much good her religious community still accomplishes. I saw this myself one time up in Kansas City. I went to visit a religious community called the Little Brothers of the Lamb. And it was about lunchtime, and the doorbell rang, ding dong, and this guy, he was one of their neighbors. They lived in a rather poor area, and he had showed up uninvited to come to lunch. But he knew that they would always accept him and set a place for him and invite him in. And he was the type of guy that not too many other people would invite to dine at their table for many reasons. But here they were inviting him. And so we can try to do this, in our different ways. We can do good to others who need it. Doesn't have to mean we don't have to provide a meal for them necessarily. We can do the other corporal works of mercy. We don't have to go very far. There's lots of people in our own families, our own neighborhoods, our own community that could use a little bit of help, maybe in a small way. It's a very good act that we should do in imitation of Jesus and what he said to us. And it doesn't have to be the corporal works of mercy either. One of the church fathers interpreted the words of Jesus in a spiritual way. He said, a humble man invites to a spiritual banquet the poor, that is, the ignorant, so that they might be instructed, the crippled, that is, the sorrowful, that they might be comforted, the lame, that is, the doubtful, so that they might be counseled, and the blind, that is, sinners, that they might be admonished. And so we can do all of these things, whether they're corporal works of mercy, spiritual works of mercy, to those who need it. And we know that we have this repayment immediately. We experience a sort of happiness that comes from serving others. But Jesus tells us that whenever we do these things, we will be repaid at the resurrection of the righteous. And so that's the best return on investment you could ever get, to serve somebody and then to receive the recompense of God. And Jesus himself invites us, who are weak in many ways, to dine at his eternal table in heaven. And so we should always seek opportunities to serve those who are in need, whether their physical needs or their spiritual needs in this life.